All right, now to give us more perspective on this, we're being joined by Ms. Marina Otway, who's a Middle East Fellow at the Wilson Center. She's joining us live on this broadcast. Ms. Otway, the way things are panning out in Lebanon at this moment, it appears that more escalation is almost inevitable. Now, Israel has flatly rejected the proposed ceasefire that was put forth by the Americans and the French, but Hezbollah so far, over the course of the last week, appears not to have hit back hard enough at the attacks that have been carried out by the Israelis over Lebanon. Is there any reason that you think that the Hezbollah response has been much more calibrated than what was expected?
I think, first of all, the response was expected to be calibrated. Hezbollah has tried to avoid an all-out war with Israel, and it's really Israel that has escalated the level of conflict in the country. So it's difficult for Hezbollah to get into an all-out war. First of all, keep in mind that Hezbollah does not govern Lebanon. It does not have the support of the entire population, although it has a lot of support when it comes to a war against Israel. And Lebanon is very vulnerable. Like Gaza, it's a very small territory, although it's much bigger than Gaza. And essentially, there is no part of Lebanon that cannot be attacked by Israel at this point.
Now, the United States of America, the Pentagon, has in fact gone on record and said that it has had no hand whatsoever in the Israeli attacks that have been carried out in Lebanon in the course of the last week. Do you agree with what the Americans are saying? Are the Americans speaking the truth?
Well, I think what you mean by direct, yes, Americans are speaking the truth in the sense that there is no evidence that they are directly involved. The United States has been continuing to supply weapons and ammunition to Israel even after the invasion of Gaza. So that one reason why Israel is in a position to fight in Lebanon is of the military support it has received from the United States, although it is true that there is no evidence that the United States was directly involved in these attacks, not only on the ground, but even in masterminding these attacks.
But the United States, of course, is involved in giving intelligence and supplying the satellite imagery that is needed for the Israelis to zero in on the targets. Ms. Otway, the other final question that I want to ask you is this. Now, how do you see this conflict proceeding from here? The Lebanese Prime Minister, of course, has said that the world leaders must exert more pressure on the Israelis for a ceasefire. The United States and France have floated a ceasefire plan, but Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu seems pretty adamant on carrying out with this operation, where he says that this operation will now carry on with full force. How do you see the Israelis proceeding with this offensive?
I think the Israelis are going to proceed with the ground invasion, at least at this point. How long they can support it and can sustain it depends on a lot of things, not only the level of resistance that they are going to find to encounter, which is certainly high, but also what happens in the West Bank and what happens in Gaza. Hamas may have the capacity to escalate the level of conflict there. Certainly, the West Bank is a tinderbox and can make it very difficult for Israel to withdraw troops from there, to send them into Lebanon. And it's possible that the Houthis are going to step up their attacks, so that I think one thing that might convince Israel to slow down its invasion, I don't think they'll accept a ceasefire, but to slow down is if they see a larger front developing against them in the region.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Marina Otway, for joining us and getting us that perspective then.
You're most welcome.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.